Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Sean Yao.
The big stories tonight. The first sister, Senator Amy Marcos, just made her political leaning even more clear, questioning the president, her brother's officials, over the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte.
For its part, Malacanang doused Amy's insinuations that the Marcos administration did wrong by Duterte. It also refuted the senator's remark that the Philippines has become a, quote, province of The Hague.
And motorists taking the NLEX or North Luzon Expressway should brace themselves for even heavier than usual traffic, as the Marilao Interchange Bridge, recently hit by a truck, could take at least 2 weeks to fix.
May tangulo ng iba eh. Nakakatawa. Sir, are you convinced? Parang kailangan yata nila ng group chat.
Senator Amy Marcos went face-to-face and grilled the officials of her very own brother, President Bongbong Marcos. That's over the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte on March 11 upon the order of the International Criminal Court.
These officials insisted there was no prior preparation, not even information on the warrant of arrest from the ICC.
They also argue that turning over the former president to the tribunal did not mean automatic cooperation with the foreign court. Mayan Los Baños with tonight's big story.
Why did government surrender former President Rodrigo Duterte to a foreign tribunal? This was the main question in Thursday's probe on the legality of Digong's arrest by virtue of a warrant from the International Criminal Court.
Isinuko natin si Rodrigo Roa Duterte sa dayuhan na para bang wala siyang sariling bayan, na para bang hindi na natin kayang humusga sa sarili nating tahanan. Since when did the Philippines become a province of The Hague?
Presidential sister and known Duterte ally Senator Amy Marcos took the lead in questioning her brother's top security and law enforcement officials, including Justice Secretary Boying Rimulya, DILG Chief John Vic Rimulya, Defense Secretary Gibo Chodoro, National Security Advisor Eduardo Año, and CIDG Director Major General Nicolas Torre III. At the onset, Amy reminded these attendees of her brother's stance on the ICC.
I do not recognize the jurisdiction of ICC in the Philippines.
The president's men agreed that the ICC has no authority over the Philippines, but defended Duterte's arrest, saying they did not take part in the court's probe on Digong's drug war.
We did not assist the ICC. We have never spoken to them.
If that's the case, Senator Marcos said, why turn in Duterte? DOJ Chief Rimulya says individuals violating international humanitarian law is a different story altogether, whether or not the Philippines is a member of the ICC.
We surrendered an individual to the ICC. We did not surrender as a country, but he was surrendered due to a warrant of arrest issued by the ICC through the Interpol.
For a good part of the upper chamber's inquiry, Senator Marcos zoomed in on the significance of diffusion against a red notice from Interpol when it came to Duterte's case. A red notice is sent out to locate and arrest personalities wanted for prosecution or has skipped sentences, while a diffusion is a mere request for cooperation. The Philippine Center on Transnational Crime clarified that the Interpol issued a wanted person diffusion, but it was as good as a red notice. Then, another question from the Senate was Duterte's arrest plan. Rimulya of the DILG and Año of the NSC both denied any preparation for the capture, claiming that they only knew of the ICC warrant at dawn of March 11, or hours before the arrest. Año adds what happened to Duterte pains him.
As a former member of the cabinet of the Duterte administration, it is also very hard for me to see the former president arrested. I worked closely with former President Duterte for so many years through the most serious crisis the country faced, and we have developed and nurtured a personal friendship. He trusted and respected me in the same way I trusted and respected him, even after our terms ended.
He also denied creating a core group to take charge of Digong's arrest.
The implementation of the ICC warrant is beyond my mandate, and I had no part in it. It is utterly unacceptable and unfair that my name is being dragged into an alleged grand conspiracy.
Then, Senator Amy questioned the Interior Secretary about the alleged planning session he had with President Marcos when Duterte's warrant came out. Remulla was quick to deny this as well, although he did say they talked about the warrant. Only by then, it was still unconfirmed.
There was no mastermind. We were discussing mainly about what the president's statements were in Hong Kong, and it was based all on that statement, ma'am.
At the end of the hearing, Senator Marcos still has a lot of unanswered questions. She says she has yet to determine if a second hearing is called for. Reporting for News 5, Bean Los Baños, we are One News.
Vice President Sara Duterte was also present at that Senate inquiry via teleconferencing. In the hearing, she maintained that the arrest of her father was politically motivated and constituted extraordinary rendition, since there was no valid warrant from a Philippine court.
For an arrest to be lawful, it must be carried out pursuant to a warrant issued by a Filipino judge of a Philippine court. Nasaan po ang warrant of arrest na inisyu ng hukuman ng Pilipinas? Wala. Without a valid warrant from a Philippine court, this was at best a warrantless arrest. Even by ICC standards, the former president should have been brought before a Philippine judge to determine the validity of his arrest before he was handed over to a foreign court.
The vice president also accused the administration of using government resources and the ICC to, quote, demolish the opposition.
Alam naman natin lahat at alam nila na mali ang ginawa nila. Ginawa nila yon just to demolish political opponents. This is all about politics. The administration is using government resources, the ICC, to demolish the opposition.
Now, in a press conference after the upper chamber's hearing, the vice president was asked about a possible traitor within her father's circle. And that someone allegedly kept the government posted on the former president's every move from Hong Kong up to NAIA.
Hindi ko matawag siguro na traitor, pero sigurado ako sa dami ng tao doon sa loob ng kwarto na yon, ay meron talagang nagsasabi kung ano ang pinag-uusapan doon sa loob. Kung kanino nila sinasabi, hindi ko alam.
Meantime, the vice president thanked Senator Amy Marcos for the inquiry into her father's arrest, but can't say for now if she's endorsing the re-electionist's candidacy. Sara added that she may go home in April, right after she's done building Digong's defense team. At this point, the vice president is open to the possibility that her father may not go home.
Sa totoo lang, wala talaga akong nararamdaman. Hindi ako galit, hindi ako disappointed. Nothing at all. Kasi pointless naman na mag-harbor ako ng feelings about what happened. Hindi na siya maibabalik. Hindi na mababalik si Pangulong Duterte sa Pilipinas. So what we should do as a country is move on from what happened.
The palace was also tuned in to Senator Amy Marcos's inquiry into former President Duterte's arrest. Despite the questions raised during the hearing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said it again, the administration was only honoring its commitment to the International Criminal Court. Castro also stressed that Duterte's arrest was legal, contrary to what was alleged in the hearing.
Okay, sabi niya, bakit natin isinuko ang Pilipino ba o dating Pangulo? Ang dating sa isang dayuhan. Ito naman po ay nasa batas. RA 9851. Hindi po natin nilalabag ang anumang batas. Ang ginamit po na batas, ang RA 9851, nandun po na sinasabi na maaari nating isuko. O ulitin po natin to Doon sa Section 17, sinasabi po na to extradite or to surrender to the International Court, if any, or to the state in relation with applicable extradition treaties, something like that.
Castro likewise rebutted Senator Marcos's remark during her opening statement, asking when the Philippines became a province of the Hague, Netherlands.
Hindi po natin ninais na maging probinsya ng kahit anuman dahil po tayo ay isang independent country. Hindi po natin ninais na maging probinsya din po ng Fujian, China. Never natin inisip yan na maging probinsya tayo ng anumang bansa.
Discussions on Senator Amy Marcos's Committee on Foreign Relations hearing also focused on one question. Did the arrest of former President Duterte follow proper legal procedure? Let's discuss how the arrest went and whether it was above board. And joining us tonight is Attorney Ruben Carranza of the International Center for Transnational Justice. Good evening from Manila, Ruben. First question. Attorney Nicholas Kaufman has already indicated that he may bring this up, the legal counsel of the former president, before the ICC. Is it something that the ICC will consider, the manner of the arrest of the former president?
Kaufman can bring it up. Whether the pretrial chamber will consider that the most important question is a different matter altogether. I should say two things. There's a principle in international criminal law. The Latin phrase is mala captus, bene detentus. That means a bad arrest, but a good detention. And some courts have actually adopted that rule, that even if there is a challenge to the legality and validity of the arrest of a person who then is brought to another court, that court might consider the detention of that person as still valid as long as that person is given a fair trial. So the ICC has not explicitly ruled on that question. There have been other cases in which persons were previously arrested and they questioned the manner of their arrest in a foreign country, but when they were brought to the ICC, that question was no longer important because the ICC was giving them a fair trial. So that happened, for instance, in the very first trial conducted by the ICC involving a Congolese warlord named Tomas Lubanga. His arrest was questionable. He was detained in a manner that was challenged in his country. But when he was brought to the ICC, that question was no longer seen as decisive, and he was tried and eventually convicted.
Mm-hmm. Well, earlier at the Senate Foreign Relations hearing, the matter of diffusion and red notice was brought up. Is that relevant?
To the ICC, no. The ICC issued warrants of arrest. The warrants were served, and the person subject of that warrant of arrest is in detention at the ICC. The ICC does not look into, and will probably not look into, the manner by which a foreign state, whether a party to the ICC treaty or not, carried out the arrest. Another example, one of the persons now already in detention at the ICC, a Ugandan child soldier, was arrested as an adult named Dominic Ongwen. He actually surrendered to the United States forces somewhere in Africa. The U.S. is not a party to the ICC, but the U.S. turned him over to the ICC in any case. And these questions were never really raised and did not have to be ruled upon. And so to the ICC, what's important is that the person that is the subject of its warrant is in custody. That person can challenge that, of course, but I'm not sure that the ICC will consider this challenge decisive.
So this is all political noise and irrelevant to the matter, the most important matter at hand, which is the case before the ICC.
Well, let me wear a slightly different hat here. I went after the Marcos family as a PCGG commissioner in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember.
If you can look at who are around the table in the Senate, these are children of Marcos cronies arguing with the Marcos. And these are the same elite families that have ruled the country for years and decades. And they're just fighting for power and the spoils of power, pretending that this is about justice and accountability, because not even the Marcos cabinet members are talking really about justice and accountability. They wanted to have Duterte arrested because the Duterte family is competing with them for power. The Marcos family is apparently divided over that question, but I think it's also hedging. And this is just all opportunism. No one in that room was really speaking for the families of those killed in the drug war.
Well, the Justice Secretary Remulla threw it back to the Senate. Why don't you look into the cases of extrajudicial killings?
They have, the Marcos Jr. has been president since 2022. Why didn't he, in fact, look into it? And they did invoke RA 9851, which Marcos as a senator signed. That law allows for prosecuting and investigating crimes against humanity in Philippine courts. He knows that. I hope so, because he signed it. They could have done it. Any of these people in that room could have gone to the family of an extrajudicial killing victim and helped them, talked to them. Marcos Jr., the Remullas, Jaime Marcos, Alan Cayetano, none of these people has ever spoken to or commiserated with the victims of extrajudicial killings. They could have filed cases, they could have supported investigations. They blocked them, they withdrew from the ICC, they supported the withdrawal, and many of these same people, in fact, signed the Senate's ratification of the ICC treaty in 2010.
Right, so these are all very important points, Attorney. So I'm starting to think of classifying things into two strands. One is, of course, justice, the matter of justice. The other one is the matter of politics, right? And while the ICC itself does not care about our politics, here we're discussing, we have a Senate hearing. Senator Jaime Marcos, who's chairperson of the hearing, she also said, this might have to guide kung may dumating pa na iba pang warrant. So, what are the merits of discussing it here precisely for that reason, to guide the future warrants that could possibly come in? How important is all this discussion about the diffusion notice versus the red notice? What is the difference, RA 9851?
Well, it's important in the sense that perhaps they will realize that if they wanted to stave off a trial or an investigation even at the ICC, they could do it now. They could try. The problem is that it was also the Marcos Jr. administration that challenged the ICC's jurisdiction in 2023. That's why the case took a long time to move forward as it has now, because the Marcos administration went all the way to the appellate chamber of the ICC challenging its jurisdiction. Now, if they really wanted to argue that the Philippines should be allowed to prosecute these cases, then they could have done so. They can do it now. Nothing stops them from investigating many of the same people who are hiding out because they fear they will be next to be arrested. The problem with that is that it probably will be too late.
So just a quick follow-up, Pawi. If they, for example, someone here decides to actually file cases against the former president, because some are saying that could be an excuse to get him, or could be used as a reason to get him back here, to face the trials here first on Philippine soil.
That won't work because the ICC has already exercised jurisdiction. Now that doesn't stop the Philippines as a state from pointing out to the ICC somewhere in the course of the proceedings against Rodrigo Duterte that there is something filed in a Philippine court. The problem is that that procedure, literally and technically, is provided for, is covered by the ICC procedural rules, and it says that the time to do that, to seek a deferment, already happened. The Marcos administration, in fact, sought a deferment, but it did not do anything during the deferment. So now the ICC will proceed.
And Attorney, I just wanted to zoom in on that topic of the diffusion notice versus the red notice, because it was really one of the main points of contention during the Senate hearing earlier. Under the definition of a diffusion notice, it states that it does not legally obligate member states to act on it. Does that mean the Marcos administration could be held accountable for the serving of the arrest warrant on Mr. Duterte, considering that they had discretion not to enforce it?
Look, there's an agreement between the Interpol and the ICC to cooperate. And that cooperation agreement, that's not limited to any specific aspect of cooperation, including warrants of arrest, including serving warrants. I think that this argument is among people who want to argue, who are pretending to argue about a technical legal question when what they're really arguing about is whether the Marcos Jr. wanted to get rid of Duterte or not. And I think they should just be honest with each other, because this is really totally irrelevant to the fact that Duterte is now in custody of the ICC. So, yeah, the problem with this question is that nothing stops the Philippines as a state from working with the ICC, even if it has withdrawn. Yes, even if it has withdrawn, nothing stops the Philippines from doing that. And like I said, that's why I mentioned the United States example earlier, surrendering a Ugandan suspect to the ICC. The US is not a party to the ICC, but in some cases, it cooperates with the ICC.
Attorney, I had asked this of other lawyers. If the administration is really serious into looking after the victims of the drug war, should it not set up an independent body, a commission to go after the other perpetrators who are still here on Philippine soil, the police, the other people?
I wrote about this 2017, and I said, the ICC process will deal only with the persons most responsible
Right.
For crimes against humanity. And so in this case, the president of the Philippines, for example. There will be many other people and many other victims whose cases will not be part of the ICC proceedings. And I suggested that the Philippines, the government perhaps, set up a truth commission to discuss exactly how and why the drug war happened, and whether it was motivated by a sense that the drug crisis was real, or was it just some person's way of creating othering other people, to identify people who he claimed were doing crimes to win an election, for example. The other thing that the Philippines can do is something that the Philippines already did before. There's a reparations law for victims of the Marcos dictatorship. Over 10,000 people were given reparations because they were victims of human rights violations under Marcos. Now, will Marcos Jr. propose a reparations law for victims of the drug war? Maybe, or maybe not. But that doesn't stop other political leaders from doing so. So many other things can be done to provide justice, accountability, and reparations for victims of the drug war, and not just prosecuting Rodrigo Duterte or even higher PNP officials.
Right, because in this debate, it seems that they are only a footnote. At least here in the Philippines, it's more the analysis of whether it was legal or not, etc., etc.
And in other countries, this was also done. Mexico, the ICC, the first ICC prosecutor was asked to investigate the drug war in Mexico. He declined. We don't have time to discuss why, but the president of Mexico before the current one, in fact, created a truth commission to investigate disappearances that happened in connection with the drug war. So there have been examples of other ways to offer truth and justice to victims of the drug war that understand that they are the persons who need these things the most.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for your time, and it was good to see you once again, Attorney Ruben Carranza of the International Center for Transitional Justice.
Time for us to take a very quick break, but right after that, we will be speaking to social entrepreneur Louis Gutierrez about urban farming and its potential to bringing food security to the country. Don't miss that conversation. Stay with the big story.
One News, from politics, we shift our focus to something just as important, or maybe even more, our environment. Here we feature initiatives aimed to create a greener, more sustainable future, one story at a time. And it starts in our communities with everyday actions that make an impact, like planting a single seed that can sprout into something bigger. Welcome to our weekly segment, Sustainability. Tonight, we look at how urban spaces can be transformed to address food security and sustainability. And joining us is Louis Gutierrez, Farmer-in-Chief of Urban Farmers PH, a nonprofit organization bringing agriculture to our cities. Welcome to the big story, Louis.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me here.
An oasis in the middle of a concrete jungle. What gave you the idea to begin this?
Well, as each and every one of us have a story about the pandemic, this was a pandemic story. I am a jeweler by profession, and during the pandemic, everything closed. I was opening stores a few weeks before, and then suddenly March 15, sarado lahat. I have 400 employees. And during that start of the pandemic, everybody was afraid. No, there was, where to get food, etc. And I was cooped up in our house, in our village, and I was reading Instagram. No? They were talking about 300,000 plants. Diba? The plantita craze. They were talking about,
launched the whole uso.
Ridiculous prices.
Ridiculous prices, and they were posting them on Instagram, and I did feel good about it. A lot of people were hungry, and then people were posting expensive plants. Of course, I like plants too. No? I was guilty, and I was one of them. But I realized, but I realized, I think food is more important. So one day I was walking on our street, and then I saw this empty lot full of overgrown weeds. And then out of the blue, I just asked the owner, I didn't even know her too much, no? If I could use the place to plant for my family initially. And then she suddenly said yes. That was a sign. No? Along the way, there were so many signs, so many small miracles that happened.
And now you have another garden. This was in Bel Air, right?
Yeah, that's where I
So
live.
now in BGC, how did you get to plant in this vacant lot?
Yeah.
Whose permission did you get?
Of course.
I was also curious.
Yeah,
I'm
curious,
like,
no?
this urban farm, it's kind of big, it's nice, it's tucked away in a nice corner.
And it's expensive.
Exactly.
Of course,
BGC.
expensive farm siguro.
So, a lot of people ask me, no, how did I get this? And I always say that, if intentions are clear, amazing things happen. And when I invited a group from Ayala, where I'm a tenant in the malls, to our small farm in the village. And then they got inspired, and they said, we might be able to help you
Replicate it
into a more public space.
But
no?
you weren't even thinking of that,
No,
were you?
definitely no. I was just thinking about, I was happy
Bel Air.
with the small farm, and the community, the neighbors were really happy. The kasambahays, the security guards were all, happy getting produce from us. But of course, the bigger thing was, how do I replicate
to
this?
scale it up?
And more people, and create more awareness for people.
So what made you, we have like some of your
Yes,
Yes.
let's talk about that.
Actually, those were freshly harvested an hour ago.
Wow.
I'm a
you can
happy
tell.
customer.
I had no idea because I was just telling Stas, I pass urban farms all the time, and I thought it was like you rented out little plots of land to maybe people like her or me who are interested in.
Yeah.
But apparently I was mistaken.
Yeah,
It is
but we
completely-
actually do. We have this adopt-a-pod
A plot.
adopt-a-plot activity there. And residents can actually rent a plot.
Oh,
pwede.
so we're
of
both
course-
right pala.
Yes, but of course we also, in
Do
our
you-
other areas, we plant and then people can
Yung presyo,
How much
Come
does it
and
go?
buy.
real estate sa BGC.
I know, right?
That's kind of the question.
1 square
How
meter.
much is it to rent?
It's 2,500 a month.
Okay.
It's a 1 square
not
meter
bad.
plot. And, if you cannot come and visit on regular days, we take care of the area. So we have families renting the plots, bringing their kids, learning, and then while they roam around the farm, they have something to look forward to.
Yes, an activity. But I'm
Exactly.
curious, from your village plot, what were you planting there? Dumiretso ka ba sa mga lettuce? Or did you start with the usual Pinoy fare? Like, I also planted some food. It was papaya, malunggay, okra and eggplant because they were easy. My tomatoes failed.
Yeah, that's very
Right,
challenging.
so I stuck to those. So did you also
Plant
have
them
to
in the
try to-
summer.
Oh, yeah, it's seasonal.
Well, actually,
Seasonal.
of course, the leafy greens are the easiest ones, and they really grow fast. So, like in 3 weeks, you can have this fresh lettuce.
And no artificial,
Mustard. Yeah, so
fertilizer.
we grow it from the soil. A lot of people, when I talk about it, is it hydroponic?
Yeah.
Because it's BGC.
Yeah.
They think it's on the rooftop. But this is in soil, and we only use vermicompost. That is no chemicals, no pesticides. So what you get at the farm is really naturally grown and fresh.
Yeah.
So you have like the African night crawlers, you do your own composting.
We do composting using the worms. And we were actually doing a
I
workshop.
attended this seminar.
I know, I saw your
Yeah.
IG story.
Black soldier fly, but
Yeah.
yeah.
But okay, Louis, so urban farms, right, making agriculture accessible in cities. But my question is, doesn't it get affected by pollution? I mean, of course, BGC, you've got cars passing, even in other areas, Ortigas.
I was actually just at a conference in World Bex. It's the building. And the architects were talking about there's even more pollution indoor because of air condition than outside. So it was really an eye-opener for me. Like you would be thinking that, this
The
is
air,
polluted, etc. But at the end of the day, there's more pollution inside.
Yeah. Something I
Inside,
also
yeah.
learned in COVID when I bought those, yung mga air monitors and air cleaners. Louis, right? Madumi yung air sa loob.
Yeah, it's even the inside is.
Basta
even-
may circulation.
Yeah. And I think the more important thing is how do you grow your plants? If you use, non-chemical, non-pesticide inputs, then you want that inside your body, right? We don't compete with the palengke. But the thing that, we are proud of is you see what you get,
You see what you'll eventually
What
eat.
you're eating.
You see
Yeah,
it on the ground.
whatever you
Whatever
put
you put
inside,
inside
you
your
know
body.
that, we
Pero
didn't.
hindi mo sinagot yung tanong
Walang
ni
gulay.
Sean, meron din bang native? Like, I know you have
Oh yeah,
saluyot,
definitely.
diba?
Saluyot.
Definitely.
Yeah, ganda ng saluyot nila.
We grow endemic, but of course, in the different farms that we built, it really depends on the market. No? If people would like pechay, we grow pechay. But of course, BGC, there's plenty.
Siyempre, BGC
Pang-lettuce
lettuce.
sila.
We grow arugula, we grow basil. So,
Yeah.
depende sa needs of the market. I think it's very important to, to connect that. But in other areas, pechay,
Bok choy, mga ganyan.
bok choy, kalabasa, whatever. yeah.
Kamote.
So we're not partial with any, But of course, we do that also because 1,500 square meters, we have talong, we have calamansi, we have all this.
So good mix.
I know your advocacy has grown, and this might be a chance to air your appeal to someone who might want to fund this composting machine, right? So talk about it.
Well, since the property was lent to us by Fort Bonifacio Development Corporation, we're really happy. We are really glad that this thing happened. Their requirement for us is to engage the community, the BGC community, and one of the things that has really stuck with me is how do we make use of the food waste of the restaurants in BGC, right? So what happens now is they collect their food waste, they send it to the garbage guy, but we don't know what's happening. What happens?
Yes.
Maybe they
Same with our
just get
condo.
mixed up.
Yes.
maybe they just throw it to the landfill. I don't know, but I really want to make use of those. No,
Imagine, ang tataba sana ng mga African nightcrawler.
exactly.
and
That's their food.
Black
no?
soldier
That's their
fly
grow food.
larvae. Yeah.
So we have this property in EDSA. It's beside the Palenque, and what my wish is for it to become an integrated composting facility, and like the one in BGC where each and every person or community can go there. It's gonna be open to the public, and they learn how to
So it's
do
gonna-
composting.
Okay. So it's gonna be open also
Yes,
to
yes.
everybody.
Magkano ba yan? Magkano ba yung compost?
Magkano ba yung machine? We're
Sean,
curious.
iabon mo na.
Para mag-math tayo.
Well, I would rather get a grant of a machine.
A grant.
Because alam mo ba yung we're an NGO that is self-funded. We're one of the few, because usually NGOs, they survive on funding from all
grant,
over.
okay.
Kami, we create our own income. So we're
Like
able to
itong gulay.
but we create value for partners so that we just don't ask money from them, but we make sure that we provide them with service. So we do farm consultancy. So we work with different companies, we partner with them, and then if they want to support a community, then we do the farms for their community.
I'm curious, do you also do like a smaller, quote-unquote, smaller time things? For example, let's just say I win the lotto and I'm able to build a house and I want to incorporate these things into the build of my house. Can I get you as a consultant as
yeah,
well?
perfect, yes. We actually work with different residences and communities also.
May mga villages na ba na who started? I know that's what you dream because so many vacant lots.
Sobrang daming empty lot. I
Hindi nga,
know.
yung is, imagine lang if all of the unused land in Metro Manila are turned into even temporary farms like this. Walang magugutom, di ba?
At saka mumura yung presyo ng gulay.
Yeah.
Kasi hindi na sila magta-travel.
I think it's
It's a
really the
sustainable way.
accessibility also, accessibility of food. And for example, and hindi malayong mangyari, that there will be another COVID, another epidemic, no? From our experience, it was hard to bring in food from the rural areas to the city.
Yeah.
So,
Napapanis nga
you have to
yun,
be ready. We have to be ready. And also, one of the things that is really close to my heart is we're able to inspire young people to get into agriculture. And you asked me before, kanina, why BGC? That's where the young people hang out, di ba?
Well, I was actually wanted to ask you that as well, because there's that aging population, right, of people who really like farming. So in a way, this also helps the younger generation get into farming.
In short, making it sexy again for
Making
the
it-
younger
yes.
generation.
Exactly.
Instead of hanging out in a bar,
Yeah.
go there.
Exactly.
Di ba you can also, you're a venue for parties.
You can do events.
Yes.
I can do a birthday party na parang may composting
We even do
lesson.
gin garden parties there.
Gin? Oh,
Okay.
so fresh herbs.
Fresh botanicals.
Oh, yeah.
Because botanicals are very important when you mix all
Yeah,
of
they
those.
have a fancy box. They open it. You have like the berries.
This is something really interesting to the young people, and that's what we want to bring in there. No? So we're really open. No? Make it fun. Make farming fun.
So how many years since you started?
We started during the pandemic in Bel Air, but the BGC one is we started in 2021. So we're
About
4 years in BGC.
Is the Bel Air one still around?
Yes, it is.
So
and
the residents have kept it going?
actually, I also built one for the barangay.
Okay.
So there are actually 2 farms in Bel Air right now, and hopefully we'll have more in the different villages. We're in talks with the other villages in Makati. We're not very,
I'm gonna take a guess that these village people are watching us right now. So just in case, like, how does the Bel Air model
But parang mahirap kasi. Is it hard ba? Baka magkakaaway-away ba yung mga
Depende sa
kapitbahay na
homeowners.
I
Malaking
think,
responsibilidad.
yeah, of course, when we work with different communities also, we will also want to make sure that there's a champion. Because we can build the farm, but we cannot be there every day. We're only a small group, and that's not our intention. That's not the intention of the advocacy.
Start on their own.
The intention of the advocacy is we can probably help them start it, but then they will continue.
So get other people into it themselves.
Exactly. So parang dumadami talaga yung people who are really into it.
And Louis, recently you were recognized as a certified learning site for agriculture. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we're really proud that. Imagine there's a learning site for agriculture in the city. Usually they're offered in the provinces. So sa mga probinsya yan, but now we're having it there. So we do workshops, we do activities there. So I think it creates a more professional
Approach.
it becomes more professional because we're accredited already. So nakatuwa naman. So this small
So may
things
diploma ka, may certificate ka.
well, hopefully we're gonna have them soon, and so that there will be more companies bringing their employees, schools bringing their kids to do field trip. We actually just had one this morning, so it's instead of doing field trips far away, some of the schools, they just walk there to do their activities.
Parang they already include that sa Montessori and some of yung mga Waldorf systems integrated yung planting, right? But let's talk a few numbers lang just to help us complete the picture in our heads. For example, you sell these vegetables. These are from BGC. And obviously we expect them to be cheaper because they didn't travel much and wala nang middleman.
Mga 200, di ba?
Actually, when they always ask us, mas mura ba? But it's very, when you think about the cost, of course, these are grown differently. We don't put pesticides. If you put pesticides, they will all look like that. There's more care. There's extra care in.
So mas mahal.
It's
worth the price.
It is worth the price.
But imagine if you're gonna pay for medicine, you get sick. Instead of getting sick, you eat healthy.
What about production? Like how much vegetables do you produce? Let's say from that 1,500 square meters in BGC.
Well, of course, I would have wanted it to be bigger, but of course,
You're limited by space.
But this 1,500 square meter property that was lent to us by Fort Bonifacio Development Corp, I think that's a big space already. So what we do is in our other communities, we also grow. Like in Bel Air, we grow. And then if we don't have enough vegetables from BGC, we get
from Bel Air.
So tulong-tulong. And hopefully, when there are more urban farms in the city, we can put all our efforts together and create a more sustainable production.
And you've also partnered with corporations, corporates who have vegetable plots in their offices.
Yes.
San Miguel, diba, is one.
Well, San Miguel Corporation, Mr. Ramon Ang's office is
there was
just,
a picture flashed earlier. Ang ganda. Ito.
So
just in front of he has a farm in front of his office.
That's his view?
Yes.
Instead of a lawn
or a painting.
So that day it's full of grass lang. It was a lawn.
So, parting shot, Louis, to our audience who have deep pockets.
Well, we really want to invite, the reason also why we chose BGC is, they're the influencers, diba? So parting words nga, to all the influencers here, to all of the people, who want to take sustainability, this is all, let's not just talk about it, let's do it. And if you're looking for partners, definitely we are very open. We are welcome. There's no competition. Anybody who wants to support agriculture, please come over and let's talk.
Be a champion for sustainability.
It's been a delight talking to you and not talking about politics.
I know, truly, this is so refreshing.
We didn't have sustainability last week because of all the chaos.
Yes, he was supposed to come last week. But thank you so much for talking to us. Louis Gutierrez, Farmer-in-Chief of Urban Farmers PH.
All right, we're pausing for another breather, but right after that, pack a lot of patience. If you're taking the North Luzon Expressway, that stretch is quite congested. We'll tell you on the big story. Full circle moment. Well, that's how Filipino-American philanthropist and founder of U.S. Filipinos for Good Governance, Loida Nicholas Lewis, calls former President Rodrigo Duterte's ICC arrest. Recall that Lewis was one of those who staunchly fought against what she called were senseless killings that coincided with the Duterte drug war. For Lewis, the arrest has been a long time coming and came to pass with the administration's blessing.
It would not have happened if President Marcos Jr. didn't say, let it happen.
Yep.
You know the word of India, karma. Okay? What goes around comes around. And so his work of especially the extrajudicial killing of people who are suspected drug addicts and drug dealers have been killed mercilessly. And now he's going to answer for it. So for me, it's like milagro talaga.
Lewis also addressed allegations of involvement in the ICC case against Duterte. This is what she had to say.
It's a fake news. I think what triggered it is that he was sworn in July 1. And his campaign promises was that I will stop the drugs, and if I don't stop it, I'm going to resign. By December, he not only fired Leni Robredo as his vice president by just telling her don't attend blunt meetings, but also it's already 6 months for a woman to call on him. He is so macho. Oh, how dare you? So he's concocted all this idea that I did this and I did that, and coup d'etat here, coup d'etat there. I mean, I don't even know a single soldier, much less a captain or a general. So it's all concocted. And because of that, my 2 daughters, my mother-in-law, mom, Mrs. Fugit said, don't go back to the Philippines. And I thought, fine, I'll boycott the Philippines as my form of protest.
Well, at the moment, Lewis is actively campaigning for the Liberal Party members running in the midterm elections. And she offers an explanation about the party's diminished political strength.
I think it started with having a multiple party. We are also very regionalistic. Our leader, Leni Robredo, has decided to be on the local side. All that contributed to the diminution of the Liberal Party.
Could it come back, do you think?
Well, there are young people now who are coming and are saying we will enhance and reorganize and try to resuscitate the Liberal Party.
Lewis also shared her insights on the immigration crackdown of U.S. President Donald Trump. She contradicted government officials who advised undocumented Filipinos to go back to the Philippines.
I beg to differ with Ambassador Romualdez. If they can afford a lawyer can help them. Either legalize their stay or wait it out. Because at least in the United States, there's such a thing as due process. All of those who are illegal in the United States, don't come home if you have a job. Find a good lawyer, pay the lawyer, you can stay until Trump is over.
Well, you can catch catch the rest of that interview with Lloyda Nicholas Lewis with our very own business editor, Regina Lay, tomorrow, Friday at 5 p.m., only here on One News.
The Commission on Elections calls out candidates who distributed cash during a fiesta celebration in Siaton, Negros Oriental. A now viral video shows residents of Barangay Gili Gaon scrambling for 500 peso bills thrown their way by incumbent local officials and provincial candidates. COMELEC is now considering this incident a case of vote buying, but the poll body can't take action just yet. The campaign period for the local election starts on March 28, so those caught on cam giving out cash can't be considered candidates yet.
Sana po sa mga kababayan natin, makita natin yung mga ganong klaseng tao na hinahamak yung ating pagkatao dahil mahirap lang tayo. Isipin niyo po ba naman na bigla ka na lang hahagisan ng pera? At bilang isang kandidato, kinakailangan ayusin ko ang aking sarili. Tumupad naman at sumunod naman tayo sa kung ano yung tama.
And our big picture for tonight is not exactly the sight that motorists plying the NLEX or North Luzon Expressway can appreciate. Because recently, a northbound truck crashed into the Marilao Interchange Bridge because it was too tall for clearance. NLEX management says the bridge will need repairs, which will be done by the Holy Week. But for now, only Class 1 or small vehicles are allowed to pass over the bridge. 2 lanes on the expressway remain closed, causing heavy traffic, as you can imagine. But for now, motorists can take these alternate routes being flashed on your screens. Sit and then re-enter.
Well, if they're going to fix it during the Holy Week, then that could just cause more traffic because, you know, a lot of people go back to their provinces, go home, so...
Well, I think it's something that they can fix ASAP because it is a private company. And we can see na they can act right away naman. And hopefully, though, matapos siya before the Holy Week.
Hopefully.
Right. Okay, ito na. And tapos na rin tayo. That's it for the big story tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you for watching. Good night.